At the charity gala, she discovered an incredible secret. The billionaire's son called her mommy. Clara's heart raced as she fumbled with the shimmering invitation in her hand, the curly lettering blurring with each pulse. It felt surreal, stepping through the ornate doors of the grand ballroom, where chandeliers sparkled like the dreams she once held. She was a nurse from a modest Philly neighborhood. Yet here she was, in borrowed heels and a dress that whispered of luxury. What was she doing among all this wealth? Savoring a brief escape from the relentless grind of shifting shifts and single motherhood? Or tempting fate in a world so far removed from her reality? As she adjusted to the ambience, laughter and jazz climbed around her, but an anxiety nestled in her chest. What could she possibly contribute to a night decorated in tuxedos? The hidden weight of her master's degree loomed like a specter in the back of her mind. What if they knew the truths she had locked away? The dreams she tucked beneath the games of tic-tac-toe with Jacob, memories of long evenings spent chasing fevers, coaxing smiles, and arguing over who could master the latest video game flooded her thoughts. Her son was the light, the only one who mattered. But that night, amid gowns flowing like silk rivers, Clara felt a dark aberration in her perfect world spinning just out of reach as she moved through the crowd. Her heart thudded in her ears. The air, rich with expensive cologne and perfumed elegance, contrasted starkly with the scent of antiseptic and the gentle chaos of their home. Suddenly, her former professor emerged from the throng, a warm smile spreading across a familiar face. They exchanged pleasantries, and before she knew it, she found herself standing beside Ethan, a man she hadn't thought about in years. When Jacob spotted Ethan and scurried across the room, Clara's world flipped upside down. Her heart lodged in her throat. "Daddy!" he cried, a joyful innocence brightening the air. The word echoed, rattling around the gilded room, as Clara froze. Jacob's unfiltered excitement drew every eye, strangers, acquaintances, residents of this wealth-riddled universe. Now glued to her, panic coursed through her veins, sharp and unforgiving. She was blindsided by the tidal wave of forgotten emotions crashing over her. Ethan was the father a brief moment in time defined her life's trajectory and ultimately shaped her child. The implications were dizzying. Could she shield Jacob from the harshness of a world ruled by silver spoons and cold facades? Could she tell Ethan about the life they had created, though he had never accepted its weight? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension thickened between Clara and Ethan, palpable like a storm on the horizon. She could feel the gaze of prying eyes, the silent judgment inspecting her every move. How could she confront him now, in this haven of opulence, so far from the cluttered warmth of their shared past? This gathering felt like a masquerade ball, where masks were hidden yet personalities shined through. The fears clawed at her. What if revealing the truth shattered the world she had painstakingly built for Jacob? Or could it create an unexpected bridge into a life of privilege she never wanted, never sought? Clara held Jacob close, the whispers swirling around them amplifying her dread. If nothing else was certain, one thing stood crystal clear: their fragile cocoon was unraveling, and time was not on her side. It felt as though the night itself was watching, waiting for her next move as shadows flickered behind chandelier halos. Her thoughts raced, intertwining chaos with hope, standing on the precipice of choices that could redefine everything. What lay ahead was unknown, but the past never remained dormant. The question loomed, hovering dangerously close. How to protect what she had built while acknowledging the truth waiting to collide with their lives. With Jacob's innocent declaration ricocheting off opulent walls, Clara felt a whirlpool of sensations converge. A blend of warmth and terror rushed through her veins, her mind racing to piece together the fractured narrative they had both been living. The stares tinged with curiosity felt like nails, each one driving deeper into her already unsettled spirit. What should she say? How should she respond? What are you doing here, Clara? Ethan's voice cut through the murmur of the gathering, his expression unreadable yet heavy with past regrets. Years of silence hung in the air, thick and oppressive. With Jacob nestled securely at her side, she could feel the echoes of their shared history surge back to life, a symphony of what-ifs and could-have-beens. Clara's mind swirled as she searched for the right words, the ones that would capture both the gravity of the moment and the innocence of her son. I didn't expect to see you, she stammered, realizing how inadequate the words sounded. Her past with Ethan was a closed chapter filled with heartache, dreams deferred, and paths chosen without the other. She had built a life independent of him, fortified by love for Jacob, but the vulnerabilities of that world faltered under the weight of this unexpected reunion. Is it true? He whispered, his voice strained yet curious. Is he really? The question hung heavily between them, a truth they both knew yet had ignored for far too long. Ethan, she began, fighting the urge to step away, to retreat from the inevitable confrontation. Jacob shifted beside her, blissfully unaware of the seismic shift beneath the surface. Would he sense the discord, the unresolved conflict that lay coiled between his parents like a sleeping beast? Mommy, can we find the ice cream? Jacob interrupted innocently, eyes wide with excitement. A sudden pang of protectiveness surged through Clara, and she realized that shielding him might be her most formidable role that night. Just a moment, sweetheart, she said, keeping her gaze locked on Ethan's. She had a choice now: would she give in to old fears or rise to meet the challenges that stood before her? But the swirl of luxury and indulgence around them felt so foreign compared to the concrete struggles of her daily life. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Jacob. Each decision carried the potential to either smear their precious reality or present them with new opportunities. You don't get to just walk in and disrupt everything, Clara finally said, her voice firm. You don't know our life. Ethan's eyes softened, a flicker of regret passing through them. Maybe I want to know, he replied, the weight of his sincerity evident. But first, he had to listen, to understand the choices she had made and the path they had walked on without him. Clara paused, her senses heightened. The crackling tension was punctuated by the symphony of laughter and dance around them. But within her, an unexpected resilience began to sharpen. Then let us talk, she finally said, summoning the courage she didn't know she had. But not here, not now. As she led Jacob away from prying eyes, a simmering determination stirred within her. She would not let fear dictate her actions. This was her son's future, one she had forged with grit and passion. And perhaps, just perhaps, Ethan could become a thread in the fabric of their lives that she had sewn together so carefully. But as she glanced back, she caught Ethan's penetrating stare. Would he be willing to confront the past to join them in the present? The stakes felt monumental, and Clara knew a profound chapter was waiting to unfold. The impact of their decisions would hang in the balance, ripe with consequences. Determined, Clara stepped forward, aware that both the truth and its ramifications loomed ahead like an unscalable wall. Could she bridge the chasm of their shared past and safeguard the life she created for Jacob without jeopardizing their fragile equilibrium? With that thought lingering in her mind, she took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever lay beneath the surface of their reunion. What she didn't anticipate was the unsettling revelation lurking in the shadows. An unseen ally or foe might soon emerge to complicate everything they dared to confront. Clara's heart beat in rhythm with the muted clinking of champagne glasses as she maneuvered through the crowd, pulling Jacob along, his small hand warm and trusting in her own. She felt the weight of Ethan's presence behind her like a shadow stretching across the glitzy ballroom. The opulence of the setting felt as surreal as the conversation they just shared. Friends and acquaintances danced and laughed, immersed in their own worlds. But at that moment, Clara knew she was existing in a different dimension, one filled with gnawing questions and unspoken fears. Mommy, why don't we get the ice cream? Jacob asked again, a slight frown creasing his forehead as he sensed her distraction. She turned to him, mustering a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Just a little longer, honey, she replied softly, brushing hair away from his forehead. A rush of guilt hit her. Wasn't this supposed to be a night of enjoyment? Could she really navigate this new terrain while keeping Jacob blissfully ignorant of her emotional turmoil? As they made their way toward the catering table, Clara's resolve began to form. She had successfully shielded Jacob from the pains of their past for years. What would exposing him to Ethan's history do? But then again, avoiding confrontation wouldn't teach him the complexities of relationships. Striking a balance between honesty and protection seemed unreachable. Clara's thoughts spiraled in every direction, her mind racing ahead to the inevitable conversation with Ethan. What could she possibly say to condense years of heartache? Would she recount the struggles, the sacrifices, or focus on their current lives? The memories of the nights spent crying into her pillow, vowing to cultivate a different future for Jacob, emerged like flashbacks from a distant reality. Suddenly, she found herself facing Ethan again this time. He moved closer, his expression flickering between hesitation and urgency. "Can we talk somewhere private?" he asked, lowering his voice while glancing around as if afraid of being overheard. "Jacob," she hesitated, glancing down at her son, whose face lit up at the sight of the ice cream display. Should they indulge him first? She could feel the tug of two conflicting duties, her obligation to protect Jacob's innocence and the need to confront her past. "Just a moment," she said to Ethan. She knelt down to Jacob's level, searching his eyes for reassurance. "Would you like to go get ice cream by yourself? I'll be right here. I promise," she said, hoping to instill some sense of independence. "Okay, Mommy. I'll get a big one," Jacob exclaimed, running off in search of a sugary treat. Alone now, Clara faced Ethan, feeling both exposed and fortified by her son's carefree spirit. "What do you want to talk about?" she pushed, straining against the nervous energy pulsing between them. "About us, about Jacob," he replied, his tone shifting into something deeper. "I never meant to disrupt your life. I regret everything. I want to understand what happened and where I fit into all of this." "Fit into what?" Clara's voice was steady but laced with an edge. "You missed out on every part of Jacob's life. Do you even realize the choices I had to make without you?" "I do now. I had a different life then," he admitted, and Clara registered a sliver of sincerity in his voice, one that hadn't been there years ago. Yet could she trust it? As they stood on the precipice of crucial revelations, she felt a whirlwind of emotions, a fusion of fear, anger, vulnerability, and something unexpected: hope. Was there room for forgiveness in their narrative? Could they carve out a partnership that focused on Jacob's welfare? The music faded into a distant hum, and as Clara prepared to respond, determination flooded her. She would not allow their past to define their future. The path stretched out before her, shrouded in uncertainty yet shimmering with promise. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a figure blurred through the crowd, catching her motion. Instinctively, Clara's heart raced. Was it merely nerves, or could this unfamiliar face disrupt the balance she had managed to maintain for so long? The moment bogged her down, balancing her decisions on the edge of a knife. As she tried to decipher the intent behind the figure, the question loomed large. Would this encounter lead to healing or deeper entanglement in the chaos they had both sought to overcome? She sensed the stakes had risen beyond their immediate conversation, and a new chapter was about to unfold, one that would challenge everything she believed in protecting for Jacob. As the figure drew closer, Clara's pulse quickened. She had spent years fortifying her resolve against the demons of her past. Now, this unexpected presence threatened to breach the careful fortress she'd constructed around her and Jacob. The last thing she wanted was for anyone to pry, especially not here, amid laughter and sparkling chandeliers. "Clara," the figure said, slicing through the ambient noise like a dagger. It was a woman, familiar yet distant, her features illuminated by the soft lights, creating an almost ethereal glow. "We need to talk. It's important." Clara's defenses instinctively rose. "I don't have any interest in talking right now," she replied tersely, diverting her gaze momentarily to find Jacob. He was blissfully engaged with the ice cream vendor, unaware of the brewing storm around him. The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice. I understand. But this concerns Jacob. He deserves to know the truth about who he is. The words fell heavy between them, igniting a spark of dread in Clara's chest. What are you talking about? She demanded, an edge creeping into her tone. Just listen, the woman implored. Things aren't what you think they are. Jacob has a right to know. Clara cut her off, her heart racing. What do you know about my son? Who are you? The woman hesitated, looking around nervously, as if gauging the presence of people in their midst. I'm not here to create trouble, she insisted, her sincerity cutting through Clara's haze of anger. But the situation with Ethan is bigger than you understand. Jacob's paternity. It's complicated. Clara held her breath, the room spinning momentarily as she tried to process the implications. Ethan's regret, her desire for closure all felt misplaced in a moment where everything began to shift. You can't just drop something like that and leave, she hissed. What do you mean complicated? Can we step away from here? The woman asked, glancing over her shoulder. I don't want to cause a scene, but this isn't just about you and Ethan anymore. Clara's mind reeled. Being thrust into the middle of a revelation about Jacob's identity sent shockwaves of anxiety rushing through her. How could she face this? How could she bring this uncertainty back to Jacob? She took a deep breath, willing herself to remain composed. Fine. Away from the crowd. But you better explain everything. As they moved to a quieter corner, Clara's thoughts raced. This woman was a self-imposed stranger, yet she wielded substantial knowledge that could alter everything. She braced herself against the wall as the woman began to speak, her heart thudding wildly. Each revelation would either open doors or close them forever. Jacob's story isn't just your story, not anymore. There are connections you haven't even begun to uncover. And now, in being here, you're on the brink of a choice that could change his life, the woman said, locking eyes with Clara, piercing through the facade of calm. The implications were immense, colliding with Clara's sense of duty as a mother. Could she handle the weight of this new truth? Could she navigate the murky waters that lay ahead? Just then, she caught sight of Jacob, his face smeared with ice cream, laughing unrestrainedly. A pang of longing struck her. This was the boy she fought to protect. How could she let anyone threaten his innocence? As the woman continued, Clara felt the walls of her carefully constructed life quaking. The moment was approaching where she'd need to decide. How much of the truth about Jacob's identity was she willing to risk exposing in her quest for transparency? Tell me everything, Clara commanded, her voice steadier. But understand this. I will do whatever it takes to protect Jacob. Her statement hung thick in the air, solidifying her resolve. Yet uncertainty lingered like an unwelcome guest. She needed to delve deeper into this newfound reality and brace herself for truths that could reshape her entire world. Just as the woman opened her mouth to respond, a flicker of movement captured Clara's attention. She turned slightly and froze, her heart plummeting. Another figure was making its way through the throng, a face that was all too familiar but thought lost to the past. The stakes had risen again, deeper than she ever anticipated. The air felt charged as Clara's gaze locked onto the approaching figure, her breath caught in her throat. Recognition splintered her thoughts. It was Ethan, looking every bit the polished professional she remembered. Yet there was something unsettling about the way his eyes scanned the crowd. Just when Clara believed she was prepared to face the tremors of her past, fate delivered a fresh jolt. Ethan spotted her, his expression shifting as he approached with a mix of urgency and trepidation. Clara's heart raced, torn between the dread of their pending confrontation and the protective instinct bubbling within her regarding Jacob. Bitterness surfaced at the thought of him being so close, so oblivious to the truths spiraling around them. Clara, he called, his voice slicing through her internal chaos. She clenched her fists, grounding herself in the moment, determined not to falter. Not here, Ethan. The words escaped her lips before she could dismiss the reminder of their shared history. The past had a way of weaving itself into the present without permission. Please, I need to talk to you, he insisted, discarding the pleasantries. With Jacob occupying the space in her mind, Clara's gaze flickered past Ethan, searching for her son among the crowd. It's important, he added, urgency lining his voice. So is Jacob's well-being. She shot back, brimming with a courage that felt delicate yet resolute. Then you need to listen. Now isn't the time for games. The woman beside her remained silent, a specter at the edges of this familial conflict. Clara forced herself to focus on Ethan, scrubbing free the memories of their tumultuous history. What could you possibly want to say that isn't riddled with ulterior motives? I'm not here to fight, Clara. I want to explain everything. The truth is more tangled than you think. Especially concerning Jacob. His words struck with a jarring resonance against the backdrop of the gala. Did he somehow know the disclosure she had just received? Clara's mind raced with thoughts of safeguarding Jacob versus the deadly curiosity ignited by Ethan's declaration. Cut to the chase, she urged, maintaining her composure with an iron grip. I found out new information. About his paternity, Ethan claimed, each word weighed down by implications that could upend her already fragile sense of stability. And it's connected to more than just us. Clara's breath hitched. What do you mean by connected? I want to put Jacob through this game of revelations. I know it's hard to trust me, but think about his future, he implored, stepping closer, his eyes reflecting an intensity that both terrified and intrigued Clara. He deserves transparency. He deserves to know who he really is. An internal struggle welled within her. Could she bear the burden of decisions that might shape Jacob's essence? The earlier encounter with the woman spun in her mind, and this revelation could be the critical thread pulling at the fabric of their lives. As Clara weighed her options, she caught movement behind Ethan. It snapped her back to reality. A handful of onlookers had begun to take notice of their exchange. Her anxiety heightened. She needed to stabilize the situation, if only for Jacob's sake. Let us talk, she conceded finally, her voice steadying as she drew a deep breath. But only after we make sure Jacob is out of earshot. With a nod, Ethan gestured towards a balcony overlooking the gala, a sanctuary from the lavish chaos beneath. As they moved, Clara contemplated the paths branching before her. Each step felt like a turn in the labyrinth that had become her life, a mix of fear and anticipation swirling amidst the heady scent of possibility. But had she inadvertently drawn Jacob into a world shrouded in secrets? As they reached the balcony, reality loomed. What awaited them in the raw honesty of their revelations could irrevocably change everything Clara had fought to protect. The moment of truth hung heavily in the air, and with a racing heart, Clara prepared herself as Ethan opened his mouth to speak. What if this newfound knowledge unraveled her? Carefully constructed life? Would she be able to make peace with the past? Or would it tear apart the very fabric of their future? Just as she steeled herself for a truth she wasn't sure she could face, the distant laughter echoed back to her, a haunting reminder of Jacob's innocence. In that moment, she knew. Revelations had consequences, and she was on the cusp of an irreversible transformation. In the depths of her heart, she felt the weight of a storm brewing. All right, Ethan. Now tell me everything. Clara stood on the balcony, overlooking the pulsating energy of the gala below. The melodic laughter and clinking glasses echoed beneath them, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of dread and anticipation swirling in her chest. Ethan's presence, once familiar and comforting, felt like a shadow draped over her clarity. Yet, the importance of Jacob's future loomed larger than her fears, forcing her to confront a past that felt both entangled and distant. Clara, Ethan began, his voice low, a current of urgency weaving through his measured words. This is about Jacob. I found records that could change what we thought we understood about his lineage. She closed her eyes for a moment, bracing herself against the tide of uncertainty crashing over her. Discerning the truth about Jacob was not merely a matter of paternity. It was a keystone to understanding his identity, his narrative. What records? Who gave them to you? Her voice was firm, cutting through the tension like a sharp blade. I spoke to someone at the agency that handled the adoption, he replied, leaning in closer, urgency painting his features. It's plausible that Jacob's biological father is someone of significant influence. I didn't believe it at first, but he hesitated, the weight of the revelation pressing them both into silence. Why should I trust you, Ethan? After everything, why now? Her heart raced, each question a shield against the vulnerability of opening herself to the truth. Trust was a fragile thread easily severed, because I want what's best for him. I've reached a point where I can acknowledge my past mistakes. His tone softened, the bravado replaced by sincerity. And I genuinely believe this is vital information. He deserves to know where he comes from, who he might be. Clara felt the ground beneath her shift, tectonic plates of her reality grinding against one another, threatening to unearth everything she had built to protect Jacob. So you're saying that by revealing these records, you want Jacob to face a world that can turn him into a pawn? The skepticism drowned out any flicker of hope blooming within her. Ethan's expression hardened, a flicker of annoyance rising. No, you're missing the point. It's not about using this knowledge. It's about empowering him. If he knows his full story, he can navigate this world with confidence. Could it be that simple? Clara nibbled her lower lip, warring against the fear that had kept her rooted in silence for so long. She glanced back towards the party, where Jacob stood, innocent and blissfully unaware, engaged in laughter with new friends. The juxtaposition was jarring, a painful reminder of everything at stake. What if this knowledge comes with complications we aren't prepared for? Secrets, schemes. What if those powerful people decide to exert their influence? Clara's mind pivoted to the dangers surrounding secrets. They had already invaded her life once before. Ethan studied her, his brow furrowing slightly. But they're already part of his life. Hiding him away won't protect him in the long run. We can't let fear dictate his future. The tempest inside her raged, grappling against the embers of courage that began to spark in her chest. What was the truth if not a catalyst for evolution? Maybe she hesitated, visions of Jacob, powerful yet vulnerable, flickering through her thoughts. Maybe he does need this honesty. A pause hung in the air, tension thickening like fog. Clara felt a burgeoning resolve as she contemplated the possibility. Was she finally ready to embrace the unknown? What are you proposing? She asked, her voice now steadier, a sense of direction emerging amidst the chaos. Ethan straightened, a glimmer of hope igniting in his eyes. Let us meet with the agency together. Uncover the truth about Jacob's background. It might be the key to everything. Clara's heart drummed against her ribcage, uncertainty warring against a delicious thrill. Could this indeed be the opening she needed to soar beyond her past limitations? As the vibrant lights of the gala dimmed into the backdrop of her thoughts, she sensed something shifting within, a potential to redefine their narrative, an opportunity to reclaim not just Jacob's future but her own agency. Her hand trembled slightly as she accepted Ethan's proposal, a mix of fear and exhilaration intertwining through her veins. All right, let us do it. But there are rules. No manipulation, no deception. Only the truth. Ethan nodded, and for a fleeting moment, they were allies again, two flawed individuals standing at the precipice of change. But would the truths they unearthed set them free, or drag them further into the depths of chaos? Clara felt the weight of the decision resonate, slamming against her chest like a relentless drumbeat. As they stepped back inside, she wondered, with each step back into the swirling crowd, if she was ready for whatever revelation awaited them. Could the truth indeed reshape their lives, or would it be another storm to weather? In her heart, she feared the answer might distract her from the very essence of who she was fighting to protect. Clara's heart pounded as she stepped back into the throbbing energy of the gala. The laughter and music swelled around her, a vibrant tapestry of lives entwined in joy, and yet her mind felt shrouded in the fog of uncertainty. With every passing moment, the weight of her decision pressed deeper into her consciousness. Could she truly be prepared for what lay ahead? Ethan walked beside her, his presence both a comfort and a source of turmoil. Once we meet with the agency, we can lay out all the details, he said, his voice low yet resolute. We'll approach this methodically. No mishaps this time. Clara turned to him, her brow furrowed. But how can we be methodical when the outcome could shake the very foundation of Jacob's life? We are not the only ones involved here. He nodded, acknowledging the gravity of her words. But then, a flicker of determination sparked within Clara, urging her to embrace the unknown. At that moment, she realized that her fear, while valid, could no longer be a chain. It was time to dismantle that chain and reclaim control. As they mingled with the crowd, Clara's mind drifted back to the moment she had first held Jacob in her arms. The love she felt was instantaneous. It had eclipsed her past mistakes, her insecurities. The idea of protecting him was paramount, but was it enough? Was hiding his lineage and her own doubts worth the cost of his future? Clara, Ethan interrupted her reverie. Are you ready for this? His question pulled her back into the present, and she took a deep breath. I have to be, for Jacob. In that conviction, another layer of her emerged, a strengthened version of herself that she hadn't known existed. The moment she stepped forward to reclaim Jacob's narrative was the moment she stepped toward her own growth. As the gala wore on, she couldn't shake the feeling that expectations loomed heavily in the air. She watched as other parents navigated the social intricacies, performing the roles assigned to them: wealthy, accomplished, polished. Clara felt like an outsider, like she was shedding the skin of a version of herself that never fit properly. With every handshake and cordial smile exchanged, she noticed the piercing gaze of a woman across the room. Intrigued, Clara scanned the crowd, her instincts sharpening. There was something familiar yet unsettling about the woman. It didn't take long for Clara to remember the woman had been at the agency the day she adopted Jacob. Who is she? Clara pointed discreetly to the figure standing alone, examining the gala with a discerning eye. Ethan followed her gaze, his face tightening. That's Lila Hart. She's an attorney who specializes in familial law. If she's here, it may mean she's involved in the very records we're after. Clara's stomach twisted with anticipation and apprehension. Her mind raced. Was this a coincidence? Or a sign? If Lila held pieces of Jacob's past, she might also possess insights that could unlock doors Clara was not yet prepared to enter. Should we approach her? Clara questioned. We could, Ethan said, but we need to tread carefully. If she has information, it might come with strings attached. The prospect of confrontation sent a jolt of adrenaline through Clara's veins. She hesitated, weighing the risk against her growing resolve. We can't avoid the truth, Ethan. I'd rather take the leap than let fear dictate my choices. Ethan's expression shifted to one of guarded respect. Then let us get her attention. We need to know what she knows. As they moved through the throng, Clara felt a fierce pulsation of energy building within her, igniting determination rather than trepidation. The fear that once flooded her thoughts transformed into a concentrated fuel. This wasn't just about Jacob, this was about expanding her own limitations, stepping into the authenticity that she had been so hesitant to embrace. As they approached Lila, Clara's voice steadied with newfound courage. Excuse me, Lila Hart? She called out with a confidence she hadn't previously possessed. Lila turned, her eyes narrowing slightly as recognition flickered across her face. Clarifying her intention in that moment felt paramount. Standing before an influential woman who could hold answers both tantalizing and terrifying, she was aware that the truth lay just within reach. Clara took in a breath, ready to confront her destiny, aware that this was the moment that could reshape not just Jacob's narrative, but her own. Could we talk about Jacob? She asked, the words hanging in the air, charged with possibility. What revelations would pour forth from this meeting? Would the openness she was building carry her forward, or flood her with perils she had yet to anticipate? Clara braced herself for the answer, knowing that whatever it was, she would face it head-on. Lila's gaze bore into Clara, her expression inscrutable. The air crackled with anticipation. Clara's heart raced, and she fought the urge to retreat. This was the moment where she needed to stand firm in her convictions, to stand up not just for Jacob but also for herself. What about Jacob? Lila replied, her voice a mixture of curiosity and caution. You seem invested in more than just his care. Clara's mind scrambled for a response that reflected her reality while sounding credible. I need to know about his past, about where he comes from. There might be information that can impact his future. Lila's brow furrowed slightly, and Clara caught a glimpse of something softer hidden beneath the exterior. Perhaps there was understanding beneath the practiced professional mask. I see. This is delicate. Are you sure you're ready for the implications? Implications. Clara's throat tightened. This was the very word that had kept her in limbo for too long. I have to be, she affirmed, the resolve in her voice stronger than before. For Jacob. For me. Clara could feel Ethan subtly shifting beside her, his concern palpable. Yet it was a solitary journey she had to navigate. She could no longer tether her growth to the fears that haunted her. The weight of her decision lifted slightly. The vulnerability she once dreaded became a badge of honor she wore defiantly. Meet me tomorrow, Lila said, her voice lowering. I can help with the legal intricacies. But understand this: what you might discover could shake you to your core. It's not just about Jacob anymore. It's about you too, Clara. Clara nodded, processing Lila's words as they danced between revelation and warning. She could almost sense that she was teetering on the brink of something monumental, a truth that could unravel or strengthen her bond with Jacob. Thank you. I appreciate your help, Clara replied, her tone steadier than she felt. But deep within, she bloomed with anticipation as Lila walked away. A sense of clarity washed over Clara. She could almost see the trajectory of her life shifting as the enormity of what was happening sank in. She needed to confront Jacob's genetics, but she also had to navigate her own personal identity. A mother, a protector, an ally who could no longer be overshadowed by past uncertainties. Turning to Ethan, she felt a rush of gratitude. I can do this, she stated, her voice barely concealing the tremor of excitement intertwined with apprehension. Ethan just watched her, a mixture of pride and concern on his face. You're strong, Clara. Just remember that, he replied, quietly challenging her to embrace her burgeoning strength. Determination surged through Clara, enhancing her composure as they departed the gala. Each step away from the event infused her with purpose. Tomorrow would demand skill and courage, qualities she was ready to refine. As they stepped out into the cool night air, Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. The message from Lila glowed on the screen, a simple reminder. Tomorrow at 1. Clara's heart fluttered not from fear this time, but from a wild sense of empowerment, as though she were finally emerging from an obscurity she had long accepted. But as she climbed into the car, a nagging thought crept in. What if the truths uncovered were more than she could handle? What if Jacob's lineage intertwined with histories she couldn't reconcile? The very fabric of their lives could unravel. Pushing the doubts aside, Clara sat up straighter. Tomorrow she would peel back layers, triggering echoes of the past and unearthing her own fortitude. What would she find? Did she possess the strength to face whatever awaited her? Tomorrow was not just a meeting. It was the dawning of a new chapter, the path to an unknown that would at once terrify and thrill her. With a sputtering heart, Clara realized that everything hinged on courage, the courage to confront history and to reshape the future. The moment to discover what lay beyond was inching closer, and with it, Clara felt the brooding promise of real change. As exhilaration coursed through her, she knew this was just the beginning of an explosive journey. What hidden secrets would unfold when she met Lila? Would she truly find the answers that could craft a new narrative for Jacob and for herself? With the dawn breaking softly against her bedroom window, Clara felt an unusual calm envelop her. The anticipation that had once set her heart racing now simmered beneath a surface of focused resolve. Today, she would meet Lila and confront every fear, every doubt she had tucked away. She dressed with purpose, each movement deliberate and confident, reminding herself that today was about reclamation. As Clara glided through her morning routine, the reflections in the mirror took on new significance. Normally, the woman staring back at her was a host of uncertainties, marked by the trials of raising Jacob, a child whose past was entwined with complexities she had never fully understood. Today, however, she saw a woman prepared to break down barriers that had stifled her growth for too long. The drive to the law office felt almost surreal. Activating the engine prompted her to shift from passive observer to active participant in her life. Each red light served as a brief pause, giving her moments to gather her thoughts, to reinforce her determination. The gravity of the upcoming conversation weighed heavily, yet with each passing block, disgust with her impotence began to transform into fierce motivation. Upon arriving, Clara stepped into the office, the hum of activity around her contrasting sharply with the quiet resolution brewing within. She spotted Lila standing near the reception desk, glancing through documents. The two women exchanged nods, recognizing their shared gravity in the moment. "Thank you for meeting me," Clara said, a note of conviction threading through her voice. Lila motioned for her to follow her to a secluded conference room at the back of the office, an unassuming space that felt laden with expectation. The air hung heavy as they settled into their seats. Lila's measured demeanor offered both reassurance and a hint of caution. "So, Clara, shall we dive into the heart of things?" she prompted, her eyes keenly assessing Clara's readiness. "Yes," Clara replied, her voice steady, forcing any trace of trepidation aside. "I need to know everything. For Jacob." Lila laid out a folder, the contents revealing a mixture of legal documents and insights about Jacob's history. As Clara absorbed the first couple of pages, a knot tightened in her chest. The information surged like a flood through her mind, tales of bloodlines, complex familial ties, and circumstances that had led Jacob to her care. His past is woven deeply into a narrative that has broader implications than you might expect, Lila said, her tone grave but compassionate. "If you decide to proceed with this knowledge, it's essential to understand the emotional weight it carries." The words echoed in Clara's ears, resonating with her own life. There were deep shadows in her past, two moments when she had felt lost, isolated. "I'm not afraid of the past," Clara asserted, realizing she not only spoke about Jacob's lineage but also about her own hidden struggles as a mother and individual. "This knowledge will help me guide him better." Lila nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Then we move forward. I'll present all options available to you, but be prepared. Some information may challenge your understanding of what it means to be a mother, what it means to care." Clara let those words wash over her. The challenge did not deter her. Instead, it fortified her. As she pored over more documents, each revelation primed her for growth, expanding her understanding of what was at stake. But just as things seemed to settle into clarity, Lila hesitated, biting her lip. "Clara, some of this information might lead to difficult conversations in your relationship with Jacob. Are you really ready for that?" Clara felt her heart quicken. This was the moment, the true test of her conviction. "I want to be ready. I want Jacob to know he is loved no matter what he learns about his past." The gravity of her statement hung in the air. Clara had crossed a threshold, willingly tethering herself to both Jacob's future and her own development. Yet, as they delved deeper into the files, a chilling detail emerged. That sent tremors through Clara's resolve. A hidden truth unspooled before her like a badly kept secret, threatening the very foundation of what she had envisioned. Clara's mind raced. The implications of this revelation painted her a picture of uncertainty, the strength she felt metamorphosed into a dark foreboding. Would she be ready for what lay ahead? The looming questions felt like dark clouds, thick, uncomfortable, and full of turmoil. The doubt threatened to undermine her newfound clarity, yet Clara clung to her purpose, intent on facing whatever awaited her. What was Jacob's story truly hiding? As the shadows loomed larger, she braced for what was still to come. This was only the beginning of a provocative reckoning, one that would challenge her definitions of family, love, and identity. The notion of who she really was, and who Jacob was meant to become, hung in the balance as the next piece of the puzzle awaited discovery. What unanswered questions loomed in the recesses of Jacob's history? Would Clara uncover truths that could strengthen her journey or fracture her dreams altogether? Clara sat upright at the conference table, her heart racing as she absorbed the weight of the documents spread before her. Each piece of paper seemed to pulse with urgency, hinting at revelations that could redefine everything she understood about Jacob and herself. With Lila's steady presence by her side, Clara felt an unfamiliar clarity seeping through her, a newfound strength ignited by the confrontation of her past as Lila began to explain the intricate details of Jacob's biological connections. Clara's resolve solidified. While each revelation threatened to upend her carefully constructed world, she recognized they also heralded the chance for profound understanding, a chance to empower Jacob, to prepare him for a world where knowledge could serve as both a shield and a compass. The fleeting moments of dread felt relegated to the background as she mentally recalibrated her focus. This was about more than her fears. This was about securing Jacob's identity. Jacob deserves the truth, she insisted, her voice steady, cutting through any lingering doubts. Even if it's complicated, it's his to know. What had once felt like weights dragging her down now crystallized into the fuel propelling her forward. Clara was not just protecting Jacob. She was reclaiming her own narrative. This was the time to rise, no longer a passive spectator in a life riddled with unanswered questions. Lila nodded, acknowledging not only Clara's conviction but also the dawning change within her. You have to be prepared, though, she warned. This information might lead Jacob to confront relationships that exist outside what he perceives as family. Every word strummed the chords of Clara's deepest fears. A single tear threatened to slip down her cheek. I fought so hard to protect him from disappointment. But she also felt the burgeoning understanding that this was less about protecting and more about guiding Jacob through the complexities of reality. Through the next hours, they dove into Jacob's records, the hidden truths illuminating his multifaceted identity. Each layer peeled back revealed deeper connections, each more fraught with implications than the last. Would Jacob be able to navigate a world where his lineage intertwined with powerful figures? A world filled with potential entanglements and expectations? Could Clara help him reconcile that world with the life they had built together? As Lila projected potential scenarios and outcomes, Clara shifted in her seat, realizing every word not only detailed her son's reality but also signified her personal transformation. For the first time, the challenges before her appeared less daunting. Just as she had faced the sleepless nights as a single mother, she could now confront the realities waiting to surface. Clara, take some time to think about what you want to do with this information. It's powerful and can change everything. Lila's words hovered in the air, sweet with encouragement but tinged with gravity. Clara felt the stakes rise, but alongside them blossomed a determination rippling within her, a desire to break free from the limitations of her own past. Tomorrow I'll tell Jacob everything. He deserves to know who he really is, she stated, a boldness swelling in her chest. Clara was ready to face the truth, its intensity no longer a source of crippling fear, but a beacon guiding her forward. Not only would she offer Jacob the clarity he needed, but she would also reveal her growth, a mother who could stand as a pillar of support in his journey. As they wrapped up the meeting, Clara stepped outside into the warm afternoon air, feeling a fresh ray of sunlight kissing her skin, an external reflection of an internal awakening. Tomorrow would mark an end to countless questions burdening her heart, allowing space for genuine, authentic connection between her and Jacob. Clara finally acknowledged that sharing the truth about their past could be the key to unlocking a brighter, more secure future for them both. In that moment of undeniable clarity, Clara envisioned standing in front of Jacob with confidence palpable in her tone as she unfolded the truth. She could already see the weight lifting from his small shoulders, the acceptance radiating from his bright eyes. She would not only be his mother, but also a guiding force, an ally in navigating through the complexities weaving their lives together. As she drove toward home, Clara couldn't shake the rise of empowerment coursing through her veins. Each intersection felt as if it marked a turning point. Each oncoming car washed over her with a sense of purpose as she drove into a newfound confidence. No longer shackled by shadows of her past, today's revelations forged her into someone capable of confronting challenges head-on. Arriving home, she glanced at Jacob, playing with toys in the living room, innocence radiating from his every movement. A wave of love swelled inside her, mingled with anticipation for what awaited the two of them the next day. Together, they would embrace a journey of discovery, opening the door to possibility while nurturing their bond through honesty. Clara smiled, a sense of pride anchoring her heart. She had conquered fear, achieved clarity, and established her role as a protector, not just through secrecy but through the fortitude to face their realities. She could sense Jacob's future shimmered with potential, now deeply rooted in honesty and transparency. And as Clara settled in to watch him, a profound satisfaction bloomed within her, a testament to her growth, the completion of a significant chapter in her life. Tomorrow she would take the next step, not only for Jacob's sake but also to redefine herself. It was time to embrace the truth head-on. With renewed strength, she whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning. Now we need you." Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of boosting the channel through these actions.